Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture podcast, talk all things comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, and more. Today, we're just talking about all the things that we tried to record before and we did, and then everything got ruined, and we're just going to record them all now for you. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Ken Brown.
I'm Lance O'Neill.
And I'm Steve O'Neill.
And of course, before we dive into it, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen, like, share, and subscribe to Nightcap Chat. Thanks for bearing with us. And my gosh, we screwed up 2 of the last 3 episodes. I'm so sorry. That's all my fault. Partially not my fault. Whatever. It's my fault.
It's your fault.
Buck stops with me. But we got a backup recording.
Fault.
It's Twitter's fault. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and blame that. Of course, Jack Dorsey stepped down from Twitter, and there's a new CEO, and he's screwing up everything. So it's his fault.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, Twitter. But yeah,
I think Twitter was screwed up already. I don't know what we're talking about. Why is it me, or is Ken having a rave party at his house?
It looks
I
like
was
it.
going to say that too. For the listeners, it looks like some sort of a glow show is going on in Ken's face. It's red and blue, and then I don't understand. This is fun to look at.
Well, his daughter came back from college, so she's throwing a rave. I think.
Oh, you know what? It's because the TV's right next to me.
Oh, okay. It's either a tree or a Christmas tree. Oh,
there we go.
Wait, how is this happening? How are you just pushing the TV into frame?
Because messing with my studio.
His studio has a TV that you could push right in front of his face.
Like I've got a live studio audience behind me. Of one.
Yeah, we got the
Nightcap Chat has been filmed before a live studio audience of one daughter.
Yeah. Well, hey, it usually is, you know. That's why we had that in our 100th episode. You know, Kayla's been here for most of it.
People tonight, though, I gotta admit.
Yeah, and she's reading Catcher in the Rye, and she's being easily distracted by it because the book sucks. So obviously, I mean, we have to be more interesting than Catcher in the Rye. So I'm greatly flattered. If you were like not paying attention and reading Catcher in the Rye, I would probably be insulted and just like, okay, we've got to stop Nightcap Chat. You know, that's it. You know, that's the measure. Whoops. Being interesting.
Have you read the picture of the wheat?
The what?
Lance, stop! You keep doing this.
Oh my
God! Someone's got to rein him in. Enough, Lance.
Instead of the catcher in the rye.
The pitcher in the wheat.
Yeah.
Oh my God! This is ridiculous.
I spit whiskey like all over the place. It got on my nose and all over my desk.
Yeah,
which is shocking because he's already
keep on making all kinds of sequels here.
Yeah.
The shortstop and the sourdough. Part 3 of the Catcher in the Rye.
I'm going to be honest, the shortstop and the sourdough is probably the best one that I've heard so far. The shortstop and the can't even say it right. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how to come back from these Catcher in the Rye jokes. She's obviously we need to shift gears because she started reading it again. So we have to bring back the audience's interest here. Gosh, you know, lots of things have happened. I don't know where to start. I guess we had one Thanksgiving episode. We talked about it. Whatever. Thanksgiving was great. We're thankful. Christmas is here. Christmas is coming up. We've got 1, 2, maybe 3 episodes left this year. And we're gonna take a little hiatus and kind of figure out what we're doing, and then we'll hopefully be back shortly after that. So speaking of which, Christmas is coming up. I guess last little opportunity. Are there any fun things, you know, available for Christmas presents? Anything exciting this year? I mean, Lance and I covered some video games that are out and coming out, and you know, what else? Any comic books?
I got one for you. We talked about it last time, the episode that nobody ever heard. You know, the gift that keeps on giving is the fact that Spider-Man tickets are sold out for like days. It is going to break every COVID record. This will be the film that breaks every record since COVID started. And it's not even going to be even remotely close. You take whatever number 1 is right now, and it's going to double it. I have not seen a movie sell out tickets like this ever. As a matter of fact, I have rented out another theater to go do it for a much smaller group of people. Ken, that's why I tried to call you the other day.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that call. You did.
Most theaters are sold out just for that reason. It's all done. So I think
you don't filled up. Did you filled up though?
Well, yeah. So I think that AMC is stopping doing theater rentals now just because they're losing money on big ticket rentals. So, for example, they lost money when we rented tickets for Ghostbusters because we got 40 people in there for 400 something bucks or whatever it was for me to do it. I just did it again for Spider-Man. Blade, how far is it after opening? A week and a half? A week?
4 or 5 days.
4 or 5 days afterwards, and it cost me $80. $80 is what it cost me. But I did use a lot of my AMC points I had saved up to rent the entire theater. So I think that AMC is going to stop doing it because at this point now, people are clearly back for big ticket things.
Did you get those all filled up, Steve? The tickets for the Spider-Man?
Yes. Just for us. I'm not giving tickets away for free. It's a smaller theater. I only have 20, so I'm not giving away. That's why I asked if you wanted to go.
Yeah, dude. It's like that. Let me know when, and of course I'll be there for Spider-Man no matter how many times I need to see it.
It's in the middle of the day though. That's the problem. But anyway, I think that the gift that keeps on giving is the fact that people are back. And then today tickets went on sale for The Matrix. And that's selling out like crazy too. So I guess the conversation could be, are people all the way back? Is it done? Are people just ready to go back and seeing big budget movies in theaters?
I would say so, based off of that. I mean, Spider-Man, everyone's looking forward to go and see Spider-Man, as you said. And for Matrix to go on sale, pre-selling tickets already? Yeah, I mean, it's The Matrix, but we haven't seen Matrix movies, what, about 15 years, 20 years now?
17 years since the last one, 20 from the first one. I'm getting the numbers wrong, but it's close.
Yeah, like everything that's old that people are excited about again. And it's like that, kids. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it could just be because of the type of movies they are. Because I don't know if people are going to be like rushing to go see the new comedy that like Kevin Hart put out. I don't think that's going to do as well as it did pre-COVID necessarily, because I feel like people are just be like, I'll just wait. You know what I mean? Especially since how fast things lately have just been going to like video on demand now, because of they're trying to make the money. So they're trying to be like, oh, okay, you missed it. Well, boom, it's out already.
Which makes The Matrix interesting because Matrix comes out on HBO the same day.
That's interesting. So
the question here. Sorry.
Like last Christmas? Go ahead. So they're doing like the Wonder Woman treatment? Like wasn't Wonder Woman out on both places last Christmas?
Anything that's Warner Brothers through the year of 2021 comes out on HBO the same day. So if you don't want to go see The Matrix in the theaters, you don't have to. If you have an HBO subscription, you can watch Matrix Revolutions at midnight the night that it's released at home for free. So the point is that the IMAX screenings are already sold out, and a lot of the other midday, like the prime screenings, are already gone, proving that maybe there is a demand to go see like what Lance was saying, big budget things on a big budget screen. Mm-hmm. But you're right, like people aren't going to rush to go see the quirky Kevin Hart, whatever, because you can just see that at home. But I guess there is some demand to go see The Matrix in a theater. Spider-Man is different because Spider-Man is not available on demand. It is not available at home. Matrix by contract is. Now next year, 2022 and on, that contract is gone. So anything that Warner Brothers comes out with, anything DC is theatrical release only. And a lot of those people are really pissed about it, including James Gunn, because Suicide Squad was just on HBO. And people didn't have to go to the theaters to see it, so they didn't really make the money that they wanted. But The Matrix is a good example because it's available, but people are wanting to see it in the theaters, and I am one of them. I don't have my tickets yet, but I will be getting them to go see it in the theater.
So the question here is, is it quote back? Is movie going back?
Right.
I think the answer is yes and no. I think movie going has fundamentally changed, and it's never going to be the same again. And what COVID did was accelerate the inevitable. and this was always going to happen. It was going to have some kind of VOD, and it has been met with success. Now, granted, I think there's a minority who has been complaining about why I'm paying for Disney Plus. Why would I spend $30 on a new release? Which is just the stupidest line of thinking. You know, it's like a pay-per-view thing. I spent $80 on the UFC fight, you know, or Ken, what does the WWE fight cost? Like, right? You know, like
WWE is part of that Peacock network right now, but the AEW, they charge like $60 per pay-per-view, which is pretty absurd.
Exactly. So it's the same concept. So
a brand new organization, which is kind of it's just what people are willing to pay.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. But if you go to the movie theaters, I mean, at minimum, you're a family of 3, right? With popcorn and booze and, you know, $15 a ticket. Like, I mean, you're spending at least $60, you know, to go to the movie. Why would I not want to spend? I mean, and it was a modest $30-$40 for like Black Widow. And like, guess what? I invited my brother and sister-in-law and their daughter, and my wife was there, and our parents for $30-$40, and we got to sit in front of a 75-inch 4K TV with surround sound. We could pause it to go pee, and we had a, you know, beer in the fridge. I mean, easy. I mean, I would take that every single time. Plus,
you invited the shrimp in the chair, and I didn't get invited. This, Blade, you have broken it down very well. This was inevitable. About 5 years ago, VOD started a lot of stuff, and it started with independent films that I was really pumped to go see in the theaters, and they were putting them online. But it wasn't always an easily accessible way to do it. So then Apple started taking it, but the rental rates were outrageous. It was like $24 for a rental for an independent film that meant nothing. You know, and I'm a movie fan, so I'm a big independent movie watcher. But now you were right. This pushed everybody into, I think there's going to be 2 categories. Big budget is going to be in the theaters. Anything studio like driven is going to be one. Then the other ones are going to be in the theaters for a small amount of time. So like studios like A24 and Neon that make Oscar caliber pictures and really cool stuff. They're only going to see theatrical releases for a small amount of time before they want you to be able to pay for them at home, because they're not always accessible. And a good example is if we wanted to go see, and I'm saying we as in Phoenix natives, if we wanted to go see an independent film or something that wasn't even huge budget, but something like Spencer or something that was out in theaters right now, we would have to go to one theater, and that's the one in Scottsdale. And you'd have to really find a good time that works. So I think that COVID really pushed the studios into making the other films on demand.
I've got an interesting theory. Now, all the movies that were supposed to come out over the past 2 years obviously were pushed back, right?
Right. Ghostbusters was an example. You mean just like big theatrical releases?
Yeah. So think of like the Dam of the Water. Now, if they keep on taking movies in and out quickly and put them onto video on demand, that gets more revenue coming in because it's the first 2 weeks the movie's out to make up for the lost revenue they didn't have over the past 2 years.
For the movie theater,
like
for sure.
Yeah, like for the theaters at least. And so they want to pump out as many movies as possible, as quickly as possible, because the big draw is in those first 2 weeks. And if they're getting movies in and out every 2 weeks, that's going to help them make up some of that lost revenue they've lost over the past 2 years as well.
True, but the biggest expense for major motion pictures is marketing. Marketing usually equals about 30% of the entire budget of the film. You should see the marketing campaign for Endgame. You guys think that I'm a hyperbole? Believe me, it was in the multi-millions. Like just getting posters and Facebook posts and, you know, trailers made. It's insane.
And they played everywhere.
And they played nonstop. You couldn't avoid him. So, like, if you're talking about it, you're not wrong. But it's also, are those studios ready to pump money back into ones that they already spent money into? Ghostbusters, and just because I followed it so closely, is a good example. They stopped spending money on it up until August, and they were like, "We are not changing the date. We're committed here. Now we're going to start our campaign." They lost millions by marketing it to come out in June of 2020, October of 2020, June of 2021. And then they were like, enough of the delays. We're going to wait until we know that shit's ready to go. And then they stopped it. So when you're talking about just generally studios doing that, it's a lot of money. Most of the money that the studios spend is on marketing. So you know, it's tough to say we can just push everything out because the studios aren't going to really front that.
Yeah.
It's a big ticket item. Trailers and shit are not cheap.
So
You think that
especially
they
when they're
are.
like Super Bowl trailers that
Yeah.
you know are costing like $4 million just for one trailer there.
Yeah, to build it, but also just to put it out in front of something costs a lot of money. AMC charges a stupid amount. If you want to roll Spider-Man, great. We'll roll the trailer. It's going to be $2 million a week. That's how they do it. It's that expensive. It's like, cool, we'll do it. We need 16 weeks of promotion. Add 2 million times 16. That's what they do. I mean, that's how it works.
The theaters make their money from the advertising and the
Absolutely.
food and drink sales. And that's if they don't shift their business model, like they're not making money off the movies as it is, you know. So like that's why there has to be these comfy seats, these reserved seats, these food, these bars, you know, because there's no incentive, you know. Quite frankly, like you don't want to go to the theater and like you have somebody kicking your seat, you know, or spoiling the movie, or there's some kid crying, you know, like that 90% of the time you have to deal with one of those things, you know, because I don't know, people don't have manners anymore, whatever it is, you know. So the theater, I don't know, they're going to have to figure something out to keep going, but like there's going to be a demand, but it's never going to be the same.
No,
I think that's great.
The same.
It's going to be great.
I agree. And not to steal this section of the conversation, I had a freaking panel at Comic-Con, Blade, about this topic. And I had people lined up to do interviews with from the biggest theater chains in the country, from AMC to freaking Alamo Drafthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to address this exact topic. And this just pushed it further. Yeah. I think that the only people are still going to want to go see movies in the theaters. It's a fact. They will want to see it. But I think it's going to be big budget movies are going to be the main ones, and everything else is going to have to take a second seat, and either you're going to have to wait 4 weeks and then you'll be able to rent it for $9.99 on your Apple TV or your Amazon stick or whatever the hell you're using. It's going to be a different shift. If you want people to see your film, you have to make it accessible for people to see it, because people are not going to be going to the theaters when people now can afford. This was just Black Friday. Blade, you know the TV that you and I both have that we laugh about.
Stop.
How much
I don't even know if I want to know
just
what
so
you're
we're
about
clear,
to say.
it is so much cheaper than what I spent on it that my brother-in-law just bought one and my mom just bought one. It is insane. You can have the biggest possible TV in 4K today for less than I spent in AMC tickets in like a quarter of a year. It's a joke. So no, they have to address it. There's no way that people are going to be flocking to the theaters like they used to. It's just not going to be a thing.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
I kind of want Steve to say it, but it's fine, Blade. I don't want to put you through that.
Yeah.
I'll send you the link because it's still that
it's
cheap.
probably going to be double, because I think he's talking about an 86 and I got a 75 inch and I got a smoking deal at 2200 at the time for this. Yeah.
Technically, based off that theory too, dude, your reach is so much higher to people at home than it is the amount of seats you can get into a theater.
That's it.
So you can make tons more money off of reaching the at-home audience than you can on your movie theater ticket seats too, as well.
Okay. So I love that you just brought that up. So I'm not going to get into this topic a lot. This is my jam, though. So I'm going to rant about this for a second, especially because we don't have a topic today, Blade. So I feel like I'm okay to do this. Ken, what is the biggest complaint when people see the Oscars and they go, I never saw half of these movies. They're artsy, weird, bizarre. I don't even know where they are shown. Now they will be available. They're will be, if you go to your Amazon or your Apple and you see them, you could rent them for $3 or $4 and you have the ability to watch them. Sometimes they could be even for sale for 99-cent rentals. So the idea to me is more palatable because now you can see these ones. So now you can't go into the Oscars and going, oh, I don't live in a town that shows artsy films. No, they were there on your Amazon or your Apple for $1 rental since August. If you wanted to or you cared to see these films, you had the ability to. Before you didn't. You had to drive to some bizarro theater to go see them.
Yes.
So it is what it is, but now I just feel like it's more palatable and easier for people to reach that product.
Yeah, and you know, it's happening right now. Like, I didn't really like going to movie theaters besides for like Marvel films anyway, you know. But now, and quite frankly, like there's just been so much garbage. But like my wife really wants to see House of Gucci, you know, with Adam Driver and Lady Gaga, and like, oh gosh, what a cast! And I will admit, like it looks It looks pretty good, but it was only in theaters. Like, oh, we can probably wait a few weeks and not have to deal with going to the movies. Right?
100%.
That would be so
And
much better.
spend less. And spend less.
And spend less because I'm going to buy a drink.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, not even that. A rental usually is $19.99. Tickets today, if you go prime time, are $14 or $12 a seat. So
Plus
for
tax,
a $19.99
plus a drink,
rental,
plus gas,
yeah, 100%.
plus stress.
Plus the annoying people that are in the movie theater, and 45% of them you can't stand. And
that's worth like $100 in and of itself.
Yeah.
Which is my number one reason. That is my number one. And I have been a big advocate for. Do you guys remember 3 years ago, before COVID, AMC made the dumbest freaking move of all time? And they said that they were going to, you know how they have like, they will show a screening of a movie with closed captioning so that if you are hearing impaired, you can read the titles, blah, blah, blah. They literally said that they were going to start one where you could go into the theater and watch a movie with your phone on, and you could text and Facebook during the movie.
Oh my God.
And people lost their minds. And then 24 hours later, the CEO said, whoa, we take it back. Big misstep. We're sorry. Yeah. We're not going to allow movies to be shown with phones in the audience. That's not going to be a thing. But that just shows how fragile and stupid society is today, that that's what they want. So if that's the case, rent it at home. Don't go to the theater and subject me watching your freaking phone and watching you update Facebook while we're trying to watch the intro of Spider-Verse because I got into a fight at that movie when that shit went down, and it's annoying. So you know what? I kind of like it because it's filtering out the crowd. If you don't really care, then just watch it at home and bullshit around and do your thing, whatever. If you're really hardcore and you want to see it big budget in the theater, by the way, Ghostbusters was supposed to be like a family thing. And besides my nephew talking a few times, everyone in that theater was into it. It was quiet. Yeah. We were pumped to watch it. That's how I wanted to see it on my first screening, and I loved every second of it. So there's a difference. If you're not a super movie fan, watch it at home. Why are you going and subjecting us to your fucking Instagram, Facebook updating? Just go see it at home. Just rent it. Don't ruin my night.
The world doesn't revolve around you.
No.
Yeah, dude.
Social
Facebook's
media
at home on your own schedule. Make sure like that. Hey, dude, you don't have to sit there and like we're taking time out of our day to go to a theater on a limited amount of showings, a limited amount of seats with lots of people around us. Yeah, I said too is like that. It's costing us more money. Yeah. And you're there watching Facebook or more or less making videos that you can share on Instagram because you want all of your clicks and likes and, you know, comments, and everything's more about look at me rather than actually going to the movie to enjoy it now.
Or experiencing anything, period, you know?
Yep.
Or how about
100%.
having some self-awareness that you're not the only person in the world. Put your phone away. Yeah. If you don't want to be there, don't be there. Don't subject me to your stupidity, you know?
Yeah. And I'll gladly walk you outside and we can have a conversation about this.
Yes, I'm a big movie theater advocate. I am a movie fan, and I've been going since I was an infant, and I love it. But I will tell you, Blade, this last year has shifted my kind of opinions on it. And I have a great setup at home. And
that is great.
If it's available at home, I will probably just rent it instead of going there because I'm so sick of people in the theater not giving a crap. And the only theater that maintains that was Alamo Drafthouse. And I don't want to drive to Tempe to go see every freaking movie with a sense of reverence and respect for the theatrical experience. So you've kind of opened my eyes to it this last 2 years. I would way rather just, I felt bad that I had to see Black Widow at home because I wanted to see it grandiose. But we did mute it. I had everyone turn off their freaking phones, and we had the time of our lives. And I feel like we got the good experience. The sound system was decent. You can still get most of it. Obviously, you're not going to get the same whole vibe because there's a sense of, you know, community. When you're sitting in a theater, you can feel people's anxiety and ahs and oohs and whatever. But also you get people's ignorance and their just disrespect for other human beings. And I am so sick of that it makes me nervous to go see movies in theaters just in general. So I think you've pointed out to me before, but I kind of agree. If it's available now and it's not one of my huge big budget things I have to see in the theater, I will absolutely watch it at home. And that's a tough thing for me to say because I've been a theater advocate my entire effing life. When I got laid off, the first thing I did was think about investing in starting a theater or investing in trying to build out. Now I realize it's a dead industry. You can't do it, and people just don't care. People are garbage in theaters, and they just don't respect what's going on around them. I don't know. I get personal about this because it's been a big thing for me my entire life. It just sucks. So I would way rather do the Blade style. Mute the house, turn it on, everyone get a beer, and if you have to pee, we will pause it. And then you can go do it, and then we will regroup and continue the film. I find that to be a very genuine movie-going experience today.
I think like the future for the movie theater experience might be like a drive-in. Like it might like regress to where, you know what, sit in your car, have your own privacy, do whatever you want, put on your radio, blast your speakers. Everyone can still have the same experience, but I don't have to deal with this moron sitting next to me who wants to sit on net, whatever, and use their phone. Because I feel like you could get a really good experience with it, but they need to invest more in like the screens, because it's sometimes it's kind of hard to see.
That's a lot of real estate though, Lance.
It is. I mean, movie theaters are just as much real estate.
You got to take it a step further though, I think. What about just an app? The AMC app, the Harkins app, and they all go for deals where you can rent from the Harkins app, the AMC app, and maybe like they all have the Marvel movies, but some of them make special deals for some of the indie movies. Like, oh, I can get House of Gucci at the Harkins app, and we can stream it. Like maybe they, instead of like Blockbuster, like didn't they turn down a deal from Netflix or Redbox or something, and now they're all gone.
You're technically already there. Like Netflix is already doing that. I mean, we just had that Red Notice come out with The Rock, Ben Affleck, and Gal Gadot, all in the movie that should have been in a theater. I mean, that's a really top-notch cast. And the story was horrible. Don't get me wrong, but when you put together those type of actors, it's supposed to be big time, not just for straight at Netflix on home type of stuff.
Some of the most expensive films ever made this last couple of years are on Netflix and Hulu and HBO. So it is what it is, and you're not wrong. Also, Blade, let's just talk about this, because this is a very big shift, is some big filmmakers are way more into making a series instead of making a motion picture because it's an easier story to tell. So, like, for example, James Gunn has said Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will be the last big budget film he makes. He will only make series from now on. So he's making Peacemaker for HBO, which will be the DC series based off of Suicide Squad. He's all done. He says, nope, it's a conducive environment for the actors, for the filmmakers, and for everybody. And I kind of sympathize with that, because if you have a story and sometimes you have to crush it into 2 hours, that's tough. But if you give an 8-episode arc with 2-hour episodes, you have 16 hours to tell your story, and people are going to be there. I think that COVID also really spurred the future of series. Now it's just like, if James Gunn is saying he only wants to make series now, there's something to that. And I'm wondering what you guys think. Do you think that we're going to see a lot more series?
Not just COVID, the success of Game of Thrones, I think, was really showed that, like, hey, you can have, because at the time it was the largest budget for TV ever. Period.
Agreed.
And it was a huge success up until the last season. I mean, I don't watch it. I don't know. I don't care. But from what I understand, from the general. What?
Can I pause you on that? Did you not just read the news this week?
What, the
Game of Thrones filmed the first 2 episodes and canceled the entire series.
Oh, the prequel thing.
They spent $16 million on an episode and a half, including actresses like Naomi Watts, and canceled it.
What was that about?
Done. It's not happening.
It was a prequel series, I believe.
It was a prequel series way before what do you call it? The Targaryen series or something, whatever. It was way before.
Is that the one they canceled?
Yeah, they so far right now, all of them are canceled.
Oh, okay.
But they just canceled the one that was the most reliable. They filmed it and they shot it and they canceled it.
Wow.
And they said that they just didn't like where it was going.
That's fine.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, you gonna make it a money pit, or are you gonna cut your losses? I think the whole point is that something like Game of Thrones brought confidence into that you can pour real money into production. Because I mean, like, we have things now like Gosh, off the top of my head, Witcher, right?
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good one.
Mandalorian.
Oh,
Mandalorian's a
of
good
course.
one.
What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Mandalorian, which was quintessential Star Wars. It felt like Star Wars and also felt like its own thing. It was not like, oh, this is the watered
WandaVision.
down TV thing. Yeah. And, as much as the storytelling has been lacking on the Disney Plus Marvel stuff, the production value is there. WandaVision was phenomenal.
Well,
And
even
look,
shows like Ozark, it's like a Netflix exclusive
Agreed.
show, and it's going into its fourth
What's that
season.
called?
Ozark. Like the camera scenes in there are amazing. The storytelling.
It's a Jason Bateman.
great.
He directs and produces it and stars in it, and it's a very beautiful shot.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's amazing to watch, and it's a Netflix series that is
Okay.
ending on this season. But you're right.
Don't forget
House of Cards. Think about how much money they put into House of Cards.
Oh my
that
God,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Squid
yeah.
Games
For
is
Kevin
like
Spacey
taking
going off
over.
the wedge. That show would still be going.
Yeah.
Well, Lance just said it. The biggest thing of all time in streaming history now is Squid Game. Squid Game is one season on a shoestring budget that just broke everybody's world, and they just announced that they were making a second season.
So I guess the point is that it's not that TV was taboo, but TV was like the low budget. It was called the little screen, before going from the movie to the TV spinoff, it sucked,
Like the people literally used to say it was I don't want to watch the quote unquote the made for TV version.
Yeah.
That's what people used to say, the made for TV. It was a bullshit version or the garbage.
Taboo
it's
now.
not-
It's not just rom-coms or sitcoms, like there's room for it. Now that doesn't mean you do away with the big budget, Marvel movies and stuff, because like you do need your Infinity Wars and Secret Wars and big Spider-Man movies. But I mean, Disney, if they can get their what together, they need to show that comic books can translate really well to TV shows, just tell stories that matter.
Well, yeah, they need to do like they did Daredevil and not just do nonsense. It needs to be good content. But I like agree and disagree, because I feel like it's easier to do shows because you can miss on an episode or two. Like you can have hours of stuff that you're watching on a TV show and it not be good, and people are can still watch it. Whereas in a movie, it's like you have 2 hours, it better be great. Like the whole 2 hours better be like, whereas like a TV show, you can have episode 1's good, episode 2's good, 3, 4 kind of sucked, 5 was okay. Now all of a sudden you're at like, that was almost a bad film. You did 3, 4, and 5 weren't that good. You know what I mean? But people are still going to be watching. They're still invested. Now they're, the next episode's coming out next week, whatever, I'm going to watch it. Instead of, a year goes by. Yeah, I remember that film. I didn't really care for it. And then, people don't really go to see the sequel. I think there's room for people doing things like what Marvel did for the first 3 phases, where, it leads up to one another, but it's just, you got to be like really on. You can't like miss almost. It's just, to me, it's just more of like, you got to really nail the head. But with like a TV show, you can afford to like take a couple of swings and misses. It's just like the main chunk of it has to be good.
Lance just kind of blew my mind. You're totally right, because if you would have made WandaVision a movie, it would have been a massive flop, because it's such sectional sort of viewing, and you could have missed one but still caught up. If you watch it through the whole movie, it would have been, I don't know, maybe kind of lackluster, because there's no real grandiose beginning and ending. It was sort of the game that you're watching it. But when you watch a show, you always have the ability of, I missed episode 3 and 4. Okay, I'll catch up later. With a movie, you have to sit there and you're dedicated. But also, it's a much shorter time span. Lance, it's a...
Oh, yeah. I
2
agree.
hours
But like,
versus 12.
But my point is, like, the Marvel movies was essentially a TV show on just a bigger budget.
Massive budget. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's 22
Yeah.
movies that led into a finale. So in a sense, it was like a TV show. I'm just saying, like,
Okay, well,
movies should try maybe doing something more like that, where
Okay, so-
you're gonna have some like lead-ins or what have you.
So the good thing is I think that Disney, we're talking Marvel specifically.
I'm
And
talking
sorry if I'm
general whatever. I'm not talking
Okay.
about just Marvel. I'm talking about just general movie making as far as telling stories for like when you do a Witcher, when you do whatever Game of Thrones, if you're going to do movies or like whatever's going to be that next thing. I think it's okay to do a movie. You just need to do it the right, like it's just there's less room for error when it comes to movies. You have to be spot on, or else
I like that.
flops.
There's
For a
less room
TV
for
show,
error.
you can
That's a good way of
like
saying it.
there's. I mean, come on. How many times have we all? I'm sure we've all watched a TV show where we went through an entire season of a show, and it was probably we spent 8 hours in that season, and we're like, man, the season sucked. And then you still watch the next season. That would never happen if you watched 3 films of a movie and got 6 hours. You wouldn't be like, wow, all 3 of these films sucked. I'm gonna go watch the 4th one. It would never happen.
No way.
Well,
Absolutely right.
I think Ken and I can attest to that with I almost said Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead. When did you stop liking? First question, Ken. When did you stop enjoying The Walking Dead?
It's sad to say I've watched every episode of Walking Dead still. I haven't enjoyed the spin-offs as much, like Fear the Walking Dead.
You've been watching this whole time?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I've seen every episode of Walking Dead. I'm invested now. As you said too, the hard thing with like shows like The Walking Dead is they build on each other. And you know how the story finishes because you've read the comic. And you like to see the differences that they've pulled off inside of the TV series that the comic never did.
Well,
like Daryl's a character that's never ever been inside the comic books. Yet every character you become invested in that TV show died during some point, except for Lori, Daryl, Carol, and I'm trying to think, like those are like the only 3 original people that are still alive from the start of the show.
Lori?
I wish that Sarah was on the show.
Like Lori disappeared for a season, but she's back now. Like Glenn's wife. Isn't that Lori? Glenn's wife?
No,
was
Lori is Rick's wife. Maggie.
Lori's Rick's wife.
Rick.
Yeah.
Maggie.
Oh, shoot, not Lori.
Maggie.
Who's Maggie? Thank you, dude. My apologies. Well, Maggie wasn't even at the start of the show. She started in the middle of the first season.
She showed up in on the shows. Maggie showed up in season 2 or 3.
Yeah,
she was not there in the core.
When they got to the farm.
When they got to the farm with the with what's his name? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the only person really there from season 1 is, it's like, gosh, dude, I guess you would say Carl's gone already. So yeah, dude, I'm trying to think the only person that's there from season 1 still.
So Blake,
Daryl's season 1 and Carol season 1. So Daryl and Carol are the only 2 survivors from season 1.
So it's not
Daryl and Carol.
It's not a good question. It's not a good question to Ken because he's still watching the show.
I thought
he did say when did you stop enjoying it?
Yeah,
he's still watching
because he said he's vested. But like, do you like every single episode?
Morgan, it's such a good pull to that show. Norman Reedus is a good actor. He's a pull to the show. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's like amazing, dude. To have him go a 180 as a character in these last 3 seasons has been pretty amazing, because going from one of the best villains in TV history, which is something protagonist granted, like Negan, people said when he first appeared, the greatest villain since Darth Vader. Remember how much people loved Negan? And people gave up on that show way too quickly because they're not invested in it.
I gave up.
You know what I mean? And it's hard. Robert Kirkman created a universe that takes time to tell the story. And I
gave up on it. You're
characters that it's I don't you can't compare anything to it. I think like Walking Dead is a modern historical TV series you'll look back at like 25 30 years from now and say,
I don't think we'll ever see anything like it.
Watchability to it.
No, Ken, I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again. I think it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And while I did give up on it, and my wife is probably as big a fan as yours. She has all of the compendiums, the big ass books, and she has them all. She bailed. She jumped ship because she thought the show was getting ridiculous. And just as long as they were stretching it out, no offense to you, she just was like, nope, I'm done. We have not watched it in quite some time. But I will tell you, I don't think anything will ever come close to this. What season are we on right now?
They're in the 10th and final season.
10th and final season with multiple spin-offs, and now is the movie canceled because they hyped up the fact that they were making a movie? And I think they canceled the movie because the lack of interest. But at one point in time, it was so palatable that they were making multiple spinoffs and a film. Yeah. I mean, that's as Game of Thronesy as you can get. That's huge.
So I just have a question, Blade and Steve. You guys both watched it, right?
Yeah.
How many seasons of like, this is ridiculous, I don't want to watch this anymore, did you guys go through before you stopped?
Two. I know for a fact.
Okay, Blade.
I know for a fact.
Okay. I can't honestly remember my opinion on season 2. I really liked season 1. I don't remember if I liked season 2. I'm assuming. Let's just assume I did. But I remember I didn't like season 3 and 4, except for stuff with the governor was like the only thing kind of keeping me around. But like I was just complaining until Negan came around, which I think was season 5, right, Ken?
Pretty sure that was season 5.
Negan hooked me back in. Like those were like oh, finally some good episodes. And then they started dragging out the Negan thing, and he was like the only interesting thing. And then it got to the point where they killed Carl, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. They keep on one-upping the threat. I can see the complaint.
Well said.
It's very tropic, but what's the next biggest threat going to be?
Well,
it's the same thing too. Like I love Ozarks. You know, like Ozark is an amazing show. Jason Bateman's best show I've ever seen him in. But yet it's becoming tropic because each season, how are they going to get out of this? And
that's kind of what happened with Breaking Bad.
Time. Exactly.
Right? With Breaking Bad, except Breaking Bad kept getting better and better, and it ended in one of the best finales in history, but it ended when it should have, and it did not stop. I genuinely, to the bottom of my soul, think that Walking Dead is one of the greatest creations in TV history that went on twice as long as it should have. It just, they're so pumped to keep on getting AMC's paychecks that they sacrificed on story. And I think that every time they drag it on, it just keeps going more and more. That's just my opinion, and I know a lot about the show, and I went way further than Blade did. After Negan was there, I watched 3 seasons, and then I thought it got ridiculous when they started bringing in Stormtrooper kind of people, and then all of that. I just was like, this is not the show I signed up for, and I just lost interest.
It's a perfect example though. Like, there's no way, because the 2 seasons are what? They're like 5 hours a season or something more.
No, it's more. It's like 10 hours because they're 1 hour.
So yeah, it's got to be 10 to 12.
There's no way you guys are going to put in 20 hours into movies and keeping like, man, this sequel sucks. This sequel sucks. This sequel sucks. And then you're still going. Like,
agreed.
TV shows, you can do that. You can get away with it. So I think that's the beauty in it. With a movie, you can't do that. You have one bad movie and probably 75%. No, not 75. 35-40% of your revenue for the next movie is probably gone, and if that one flops, forget it, you're done.
Yeah, and if you're a screenwriter or the director, you're out. You're now doing D-list nonsense. Get ready to make college films. You're totally right. With TV shows, you have a softer cushion. You have a larger thing. You have one chance to get a movie right. One. And I mean,
in TV, they're doing the same thing now. I mean, you get one season. If it doesn't click, you're done with it. Like, Why the Last Man? They pulled it already after FX pulled it after one season. They go, that is a series you have to give time to develop, and it's one of the best comic book graphic novels in comic book graphic novel history.
But how many hours of
Why the Last Man is up there with Watchmen, and it pulled it after one season.
Ooh, okay, so now I could get on a topic about Watchmen because
Watchmen they pulled after one season too.
Well, hold on a second. Did they pull it? No. HBO begged my least favorite person in Hollywood. Blade, you know me a little bit from back. He is, what's his name again? The guy that wrote it. He made Lost, and he is my Damon Lindelof. Okay, Damon Lindelof is my least favorite human being in Hollywood. I have said this for a decade. Damon Lindelof is a hack idiot that has one idea and he has no idea how to finish it, right? Except for this. Okay, so Watchmen is a very successful graphic novel, which I have read multiple times. Then they made it into a film, which I thought was a fantastic depiction
Great.
of the graphic novel.
Which is
Then
even
they
better
made it
than
into
graphic
a
novels.
show on
Wow.
HBO. What happened? I didn't miss that. I was talking over. I'm sorry.
The ending of Watchmen, the movie, made more sense than the ending of Watchmen, the comic. Like with the aliens, you know what I mean?
Maybe,
More-
yes, I would agree. I would,
Because
I
it,
would, I-
because
I
it
could
ties it
potentially
ties
agree.
it into everything. It's a great
Yes.
argument, even
Dr.
blasphemy
Manhattan
aside.
ending was dude.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the Watchmen graphic novel was genius.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But the Dr. Manhattan twist to it was much
Yep.
more believable for a movie audience than. And then you're
Agreed.
right, dude. With the TV show, they brought back the squid aliens
Yep.
as to pay homage to how the comic was supposed to be. But go ahead.
Absolutely right. And they begged Damon Lindelof to come back for a second season. He has posted publicly, and if you're listening to this, you can Google it because he has showed it. Because Damon Lindelof is a hack idiot that shows everything on Twitter. He's a freaking infant, but he knows what he's doing when it comes to this. And he said no. He said, my version of Watchmen is a one series and it ends here and I'm done. And he will not come back. And I cannot hate him anymore because it's brilliant. It was the most perfect one series season of anything I've ever seen. It was beautiful. And even my daughter watched it and goes, that's the best thing I've ever seen on TV. And I'm like, absolutely it was. It was the perfect storytelling trope of all time. They are trying to figure out what to do with the second season. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to be a part of it. If he's not making it, I don't freaking care. Like Regina King and all of the people involved with it, if they're not there, I don't know. I don't know. I find it gross. But when it comes to like a movie trope versus a series, Lindelof shows that he can do it, and you can do it. And to Lance's point, if you miss one episode of Watchmen, you're missing a major plot hole in the story. You can't miss episode 3 and then skip past it. You can't, or else you don't know what the hell is going on. Same thing as if you walk out of the movie and you go pee for 20 minutes and you come back like, hey, what's going on? Kylo Ren is whose dad? You know, you don't know what's going on. It doesn't work.
That's actually maybe a new thing to come. Maybe there's going to be an episode, like a period of time where there's going to be one season shows. Where
like WandaVision,
right.
Like what they're doing at Marvel right now. Like we will never get another Winter Soldier what is it called?
Well, nobody wants it, so.
Well, obviously that's kind of the point, but you'll never get it. They ended it on a point so that he could be a part of the show, and he's never gonna. Well, I mean, maybe they could do it again. If it was a success, they could always redo it. Except for this,
to keep this, it's how these pieces, like now, like Marvel is doing puzzle pieces. Like TV series are puzzle pieces to their big story. They tried doing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Inhumans, but unfortunately, that was kind of like their prototype and their pilots of what they're doing now. Because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is something that takes place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whether people like that show or not. And same with Inhumans, whether Inhumans people liked it or not, that's part of the Marvel Cinematic big picture of things. They haven't made it. I think like this didn't happen.
I think they've officially disowned it though, and I wouldn't be surprised. I look it up, but I
may have disowned it, but I don't think they've disowned it.
No. I mean, yes, of course I did. I went to AMC and saw that in the movie theaters, and I was laughing from just how ridiculous it was. But I'm pretty sure they have acknowledged it as no longer canon. Like, and I'm not just like being mean. But they also did the same thing to the Netflix shows. So yes,
But
no.
he just said today.
I know you're right, but the stories they're not gonna pay attention to what happened. They're calling it a soft reboot. So like you had those stories, but they're only going to take what they want from them. And like especially completely ignore Defenders, I guess, from what I understand, which I liked Defenders, so I don't really understand, but obviously they just have other plans, so they just only are gonna take
if I can get a whole new Elektra storyline, that'd be kind of cool, you know. She was great. I'll keep her. I mean, I loved her.
To this awesome. Day,
So
I think Daredevil is one of the greatest quote MCU things, period. I mean, looking at everything, not just Netflix. Netflix, of course, Daredevil is the best one of the Netflix shows, but of any Marvel thing to date, Daredevil might
season
be
2,
one of my
right?
favorites. All of it. Just
or is it 3? Is there 3?
Two. Yeah, but I guess 2 is the best with.
It was with Punisher and Elektra, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Amazing. I actually want to go watch it again.
What?
Yeah, I even like the Punisher. I thought the Punisher was extremely underrated for what it was on Netflix. John Barenthal was by far
oh my god,
an amazing
so
Punisher,
good.
better than Thomas Jane, better than Dolph Lundgren, hands down. He did a great job of being the most likable Punisher I've ever seen.
And beyond that, like his performances were, I mean, you want to talk about Oscar-winning performances. I know this is TV, but I mean, look, let's be real. These superhero movies aren't always necessarily like the greatest performances. I'm not saying it's bad acting. Like, it's good acting. It's fine, but it's nothing like wow.
At times.
Like, not always, but like most of the time, but John Bernthal as the Punisher is got to be some of the greatest superhero performances we have ever received.
He'd be on my top 5 Marvel ones, and that my number 1 would obviously be Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, which think should
it's hard not to do that.
Which should have been an Oscar nominee, especially for what he did in Endgame. I think it's the biggest joke ever, which is why if you want to hate the Oscars, hate it for the right reasons. Hate it that they only acknowledge snobby bullshit that people don't watch. You know what? I mean, what he did is fantastic. But to the point of what you're saying, I completely agree. I remember watching that and thinking that this is the best Punisher of all time, and I actually believed it. Like, I actually thought that could be real. Like, he was so good. I'm like, this could be real. Like, this guy could have done this. And that's what I think is haunting about his role. But also that just goes to show how seriously people take superhero movies anymore. I mean, freaking some of the most famous directors still to this day trash these movies as saying that they're not to be taken seriously. It's because they're jealous. Thank you, Lance.
Or either that or they're morons. And they're too – their minds can't comprehend good storytelling because they're idiots.
Yeah. They think it's just they think it's a kick in the bucket, like an easy $1 billion by making a Marvel movie. Yeah, watch them fail and then watch all those people never get hired again. Exactly.
Go watch a DC film.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch Wonder Woman 1984 and see whose movies got canceled. By the way, hers got canceled. She's not making a Star Wars movie anymore.
Yeah, and
I think they saw 1984 and they were like, "Yeah, we don't want to be a part of this."
Which is weird. It was all the same people who put it together. Like, what happened between 1 and 2 that it was such a difference? It was night and day.
Yeah, agreed.
But I want one of these people, these Martin Scorsese's or whoever's looking down their
Denis
nose
Villeneuve.
Yeah, all these people.
He's my favorite. Yeah.
How about one of them just goes and makes a film, a Marvel film, a DC film, a comic book film? Like, there's wonderful stories, wonderful mythology, and turn it into a masterpiece. Have some crazy direction with wonderful performances, wonderful cinematography, and then just crush it.
Yeah. Wait a minute, Blade. You're already talking about someone who did it. Christopher effing Nolan. Christopher Nolan did that. Oh. Now listen, whether or not you guys agree or not, his is the freaking best, but he at least did what you're saying.
No. Yes, the Russo brothers did it. The Russo brothers did it.
The Russo brothers did it obviously as well.
Steve?
The what?
You're talking about Batman the Dark Knight, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is what we're talking about. You want to take indie brilliant filmmakers, like the people that are talking crap about them, you go try it. You go give it your shot and make a compelling story. Christopher Nolan did it. I know you guys aren't really fans, but you have to acknowledge the cinematic beauty of what they look like. I know you don't agree with the storyline. I don't really care because I know that we're never going to agree on this. But I'm just going to tell you, he did what you're saying. Yeah, and the world typically agrees that his is fantastic. And just let a good storyteller do it. Don't just talk shit. Give it a shot. And if you fail,
gosh, you're talking about indie guys, like there are so many great indie comics that are weird, that are cinematic, that like you can it's storyboarded, tell one of these beautiful stories. Go with one of these indie writers and figure out how to translate this to film. Like Ken's done. Well, with what?
Like Old Guard, Greg Rucka's story. I mean, Charlize Theron. Like Old Guard is an amazing
Old Guard,
story.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And Old Guard would have worked better to me as a TV series than as a movie they did on Netflix. But Old Guard is like anything you can take history and film, you've got infinite amount of material.
Yeah.
That's why I think Eternals would have been a better TV series than the movie.
Because
what they did with Eternals is very similar to what happened in Old Guard.
So
Old
I have
Guard
I have a question mostly then for Ken, because, and this could be the ending of the show, I guess, but tell me, because there's one story that shows up on my every search feed for the past year, and that would be Deadpool's successor, which would be Squirrel Girl. And they are saying how many people have passed on it, and then they took it and then they passed on it because the studio didn't like the humor, and then another person picked it up and then passed on it, and they're saying that she's going to be the girl Deadpool, and they want the chick from the Verizon commercials, whatever her name is, to be Squirrel Girl because she was actually signed to do the part in the first place. I know nothing about it outside of the very Cliff Notes version that I read online. I want nothing to do with it, but to your point,
I don't see any connection between her and Deadpool.
Well, they're saying that she's goofy and she breaks the fourth wall. That's the only combination that I'm seeing, is that she's goofy and breaks fourth wall.
Yeah, dude. I mean, dude. Like Hit Monkey, for instance, dude. It's like I tried giving Hit Monkey a chance on Hulu the other day. And I watched the first episode. I'm going, okay, I see what they pulled from the comic material, but they added another element to it that wasn't really ever in the comic. And it makes the show go for what it's trying to reach, but it's so forced because certain things that happen in comics, they can't digest as something that people that will see movies or watch TV will absorb as like, oh, this is okay to do. You know what I mean? Like the original Hit Monkey story was, yes, dude, like this assassin came and found this tribe of monkeys, and by the monkey, one of the monkeys in the tribe did not trust him, while everybody else thought he was some kind of like savior idol to them, and like we need to treat him with respect. And the one monkey inside of the clan's like, nah, dude, this guy's trouble, man. This is not right. And
is this real?
The monkey's not like, saying this. They're talking their own verbiage, and they have the little monologues, on the bottom of the screen, and then in the comic it's translated, like where they have little carrots on the outside of it, like language translation, type of things, because you don't know what they're saying, but you're reading it, but you wouldn't know it if you were there. But they had the thing like where the monkey learned in the comic how to be an assassin by watching this otherworldly assassin. He was never visited by ghosts of that assassin. Do you know what I mean? Because in the cartoon, they made it where the ghost is with him to help advise him on how to be an assassin. Like, no, that's not really what they did in the comic. And I kind of like what they did in the comic is because it's more pure. It's more real in that type of like story. Like this is one badass, almost like a mutant monkey, you would say. It's like Taskmaster type of abilities to watch what was going on. And he was so concerned about this guy that was a threat to his community. And being an assassin, these other assassin groups came through and slaughtered every other part of his monkey clan. And then that one monkey went on to more or less avenge violence and almost like a monkey Punisher in a weird, stupid way.
You killed my monkey family.
It's not the greatest comic I've ever read, but it's definitely not the best TV show I've ever seen either, because they had to add what Hollywood calls their touch because the fans won't buy this monkey being the main character of the show by himself. And it was just kind of painful that they chose to do something that was different, but then they don't even want to commit to do it because they're afraid fans won't accept it for what it is.
Okay.
And I think the same thing would happen with Squirrel Girl too. You'd probably have the squirrel that's with her, Chippy doesn't really talk with her, but it is her sidekick in the comic. They would probably do something more with Chippy that needs to be done because you have to have something that makes it different than the comic, so people that go to TVs and movies will say like, oh, okay, this is more of what I accept. So Hollywood, I think, sometimes takes too much liberties to make it their story rather than what the story is. And Sometimes it ruins it. And in Hit Monkey's case, it ruined it. And other times, Eternals, it made it wonderful because I could care less about Eternals, the comic, for whatever reason. But I did enjoy Eternals, the movie, because I love historic perspectives of things. And like the thing like that, the Eternals influence the formation of humanity. That would be awesome as a TV series for me because I want more than 5 minutes of them, more or less, how they influenced major points in history.
Maybe Eternals would have been better as a series, especially because the major complaint is people are saying it's too long. So if you broke that up into a 5-episode or a 6-episode arc, maybe you could have told the same story. And we all know that Disney's not scrimping on the budget for these series. They're giving them full motion picture budget because they're making it back with subscriptions like crazy. So maybe that would have been a better one.
Was that the major complaint, Steve?
I don't remember a major complaint. Major complaint with what? Oh no,
nothing. Never mind.
Oh no, on Eternals, that is the one that I keep on reading. Is that it's too long.
Yeah, that's that was the problem.
That's the one that I keep on reading. I will be honest, Lance. I know you're making a joke. I don't get it because I haven't seen it. But
it's fine.
Number one thing.
Have you guys seen it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Chance.
I have no interest. I just keep on seeing people saying it's too long.
It probably was. Here's the thing. I love Squirrel Girl. I have a bunch of her comics. I have her figures. And I love Deadpool. And I hate that they're trying to make Squirrel Girl Deadpool, whatever. I mean, I know what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because today's Deadpool is just a joke. It's over the top satire. It's raunchy for the sake of being raunchy. Like they've taken it so far. It's not even interesting to me anymore. And if they're trying to do that to Squirrel Girl, I absolutely hate that because I really like Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. Squirrel Girl has single-handedly defeated Doctor Doom, Thanos, Galactus. Like she's a force. She's a force to be reckoned with.
She's
No, it's awesome.
She's the exact opposite of Deadpool. She's nothing like Deadpool.
Yeah.
She's more like a rational problem solver, where Deadpool's just a fun-loving, let's just blow it up and see what happens type of stuff.
You know what my ultimate point here, and perhaps we're running out of time here, but I think what's really important is for comic book properties, like especially like Marvel and DC, not everything, character and person, needs its own show or movie. No. Hit Monkey does not need a show.
No, not at all.
Loki, I would argue, did not need a show. Eternals probably didn't need a movie. They're probably better off being served as background characters, supporting characters, especially making a movie with 12 of them, just introducing them. They should have probably been introduced, before that. I think some of these studios have lost sight because they took a chance on Doctor Strange and even Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it worked.
And they took Guardians early on and they're like, let's just see. And it worked great. And now they just think, what else can we pull from the bottom of the garbage bin to make a successful show?
See if it works.
Let's do Hit Monkey. Let's do Squirrel Girl. Let's do Dazzler. Let's do MODOK. MODOK doesn't need his own show.
Oh, even deeper than that, Blade, this is all because Big Hero 6 succeeded.
You think so?
Yes, because Big Hero 6, there's a cult following for Big Hero 6.
Really?
There's never been a comic book following for... Yeah, Big Hero 6 is where, based off of your theory there, like making anything, and because they know it'll work, like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange, Big Hero 6 wasn't even a live-action movie, and it was an animated movie, like kind of like this whole Hit Monkey crap that they're putting out right now, with all due respect to Hit Monkey fans. But Big Hero 6 has never had a popular fan base inside of comic books. There was a couple appearances in Alpha Flight. They had a short mini-series, Sunfire and a Big Hero 6, where they didn't even include Sunfire in the movie, which was, to me, by far the coolest character of the group. But, with all due respect to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, Steve, they tried reincarnating the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man as a inflatable robot that was dumber than all of sin, and kids loved it. And
this kid.
Yeah, dude. And it's all fine to me, but it's just Big Hero 6 was something that they did not expect to take off in comics ever. And it worked perfect in Hollywood because they made it work in a way that worked for fans like you that have never really cared about the comic at all. It's aiming at the audience that is not, how would you say it, not invested in these characters. And the audience that does get invested are, once again, like people like, like Steve. It's like that, hey, this is awesome because this is so different. But at the same time, it is so different to us as comic book fans too, because they just kind of did their own thing and went wild with it.
Isn't that the constant battle between good and evil here as comic book fans versus people like me that are just movie fans? Because I got attacked on Facebook like a year ago for someone saying, "Oh, you're just a movie fan." I'm like, "Yeah, I am a movie fan." And I'm commenting on a movie post, though, right? Asshole. Yeah. I'm not commenting on a comic book post. I'm commenting on the film post. And there's a big rivalry. People are calling me out. I'm like, you're calling me out on something I embrace. I've never read more than 4 comics in my life, and I love movies. But you're right. I think there's a difference.
That's the too. Like, and I would never attack you for liking Big Hero.
Because you're a nice normal guy. But I mean, other people aren't. So
they're the ones who text during the movie.
And Disney,
they are.
Yeah. Disney and Marvel has seen them succeed at what I consider the lowest level of comic book fandom. It can make, in their eyes, they can make anything successful. You know what I mean? Because like Big Hero 6 would have been the end of the line when it comes to comic book storytelling popularity. Would you guys agree with that as comic book fans?
What was the end of the line?
Big Hero 6 has nothing to do with anything major inside of the Marvel universe, comic-wise.
No, I mean, the fact that it takes place in San Fran, Tokyo.
Crossover. Like,
San Fran, Tokyo.
Doesn't even know Big Hero 6 exists. And he's looking at the planet and he goes, "Oh, who are my biggest threats? Oh, Sunfire and the Big Hero 6. They're not measuring up."
I'll be honest, Blade. You just said it.
Flight level. Do you know what I mean?
No, not even. They're less than that because they're in a made up place. The whole entire Marvel universe takes place in real Earth and not real space. So how can that even fit? It's got to like be its own thing.
Yeah. But they succeeded, is what I'm more or less saying on. Like Big Hero 6 they popular. Like
they more than succeeded. They destroyed. They crushed.
The cinema made the franchise Big Hero 6, not the comic.
And there's a series coming out soon, and the trailer is all about Baymax being a goofball, which I enjoy just because of the cutesy sort of humor. But you're right, it has nothing to do with what you're talking about. It's the redhead stepchild of the story that it's a part of. It's a tiny, tiny little part, but they focused on it because they know that it's a marketable thing. That being said, Disneyland loves Baymax. They have a giant real-life inflatable Baymax as a meetable character that is like meeting the real thing, and it's absolutely fantastic. So you have to look at marketing as well. You know, it's like people are going to buy Baymax toys and his inflatable hands and all that crap, which is part of the whole, the mechanics, right?
I guess what it is, like how you guys feel about Eternals, not wanting to go see Eternals, Blade and Lance, is how I felt about Big Hero 6 when I saw the trailer.
Really?
And like that, I haven't even seen the movie because I did not like the trailer of what I was seeing.
Wow. Of
what they did was something like, once again, dude, I'm biased because I'm an Alpha Flight fan. And anything that comes from Alpha Flight, I'm going, that's one step closer to Alpha Flight being brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's just like, I was like going, oh, wow, okay. So Alpha Flight's not coming anytime soon because this has nothing to do with what they did with the whole, Agents of, it's what's going to be funny too. Agents of Atlas is more what Big Hero 6 was intended to be than what Big Hero 6 became inside of the movie. Weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you'll see Agents of Atlas as a movie that relates more to what Big Hero 6 was intended to be than what Big Hero 6 became because they like Baymax, or Baymax.
Yeah. Well,
it became a Pixar film.
It's just
Blade,
like how far can they?
Yeah.
What?
It became a Pixar film.
They just said it.
And that's
true.
That's really all it is. Like it is. It doesn't even feel like a Marvel movie, a comic book movie. Like it just feels like here's a Pixar movie with characters we made up. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it feels like it was kind of like meant for the Incredibles audience.
Yes, 100%. And that's exactly what it is.
Maybe down the road though they'll do a live action one.
What? Yeah. Will they do a Big Hero 6 or Incredibles live action or what?
No, Big Hero 6. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, look what they did. they did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now they're doing Spider-Man No Way Home, and it's literally the same exact. It's just a multiverse Spider-Man movie. Like they're like, oh wow, that did really great. Everyone loved it. Well, I guess we could do this in the big screen then. Here we go.
Yeah.
Chop chop.
Almost like testing the waters on it.
I mean, if you look at the Avengers animated movie, the first one and the second one, it was literally the Avengers movie.
Can I make a weird prediction? I
Ken's
think
crystal ball.
that the movie fans will like X-Men more than the comic fans
Yep.
when it starts.
I can see that.
What?
Well,
X-Men?
wait.
They're not even
that's
doing
a fair
X-Men.
thing.
Oh,
There's
I'm
not
sorry.
gonna be an
Mutants?
X-Men movie.
Mutants? Oh, okay. Mutants. Yeah.
Well,
No,
that's
not seeing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm already
That's
not
an
seeing it.
unfair.
I think
That's
the
an unfair
incarnation will
assessment,
work
though.
great for moviegoers, but as long-term X-Men fans, I can see them having problems with what they're going to do.
Of course. That's like anything though. Ken, like if you never read Stephen King's It, but you saw the new movies and you were like, hey, those were fun. And I'd be like, dude, half of that wasn't there. They didn't do this, they didn't do this, they didn't do this. Anytime you read the core material and then you see the Cliff Notes version on screen, a hardcore fan is gonna. You guys are literally living proof
Yeah.
about that. You guys poke holes in everything that's ever come out, which is a good thing. You know, you're supposed to be able to do it, but there's no way that you're supposed to ever see it as equal. Can you guys come up with one that you thought was a very good representation? Like, yep, that was what I
Iron
wanted
Man
to see.
1, Captain America 1.
Daredevil, I thought was pretty good too. The Frank
Daredevil,
Miller
You guys
Daredevil
have said
story.
that. Okay.
Daredevil. Yeah, those are prime.
Infinity War.
Doctor Strange.
I think Infinity War, I think,
People-
was great adaptation, at least. Like, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just
I
because
disagree with that.
just because you have to have it link up to the 20 movies you had before.
I can't even fathom.
To tell the story. First of all, I personally don't want the same exact, because then you just it's kind of boring because you know everything's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it being a little different.
Deviating from the script because
right.
those- you're just reading, you're just watching what was already said. That's lame as hell. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what I kind of
Some surprises.
That's what I like about the What If series. The What If series made me appreciate all those Marvel Cinematic movies that much more, because What If stayed within the rules of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like the What If comics, what I thought was beautiful about the What If cartoon series was they didn't try just making crap out of nowhere like the What If comics series did. The What If comics series at the first series would take stuff and it's like, oh, let's just make imaginary crap happen. A second What If series in the 90s started taking like the old comic storylines and let's tweak the endings to them. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the whole series. There are parts of the original series, like what if Gwen Stacy had lived, what if Uncle Ben had lived, that stayed within their own universe. But the second series completely stayed within what if comic book storytelling based off the Marvel 616 universe as a whole. But
You guys did a
the What
really
If-
good episode, by the way, on the What If series. If you could go back, Blade, do you remember what episode? I had a lot of fun listening to it because you guys really went into the ones that you liked a lot. I remember it was the first time I ever appreciated what Lance said because he had some good opinions. That was just a joke, Lance.
But did you
no, that was-
expect it to
that was a really
be
good
centered?
episode.
Did you expect that What If series? None of us predicted that
No,
it
and
would
they
be
just got
centered on the
renewed for a
cinematic
second
universe.
season. I honestly
Yeah.
thought it was going to be a one-season thing. They just got renewed for a second season. There'll be
I
six more.
thought if it did well, it could have a second one because you could just do more like what I mean. It's just a what if.
It's
You know what I mean?
it's
You could just do
anything.
literally anything.
But
The only thing I have-
the storytelling stuck within their cinematic universe. It didn't go off to like doing like a what if Big Hero 6, type of thing, or what
But
if
it could.
type of thing, like it all stuck within every movie they already produced. Like it didn't go off the rails. Do you know? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that where like they didn't do any what if storytelling of things that like once again, like the easy one would have been like what if Uncle Ben had lived, but that has nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic storytelling universe. So they stuck within the core storytelling of what's been an important points in the Marvel Cinematic Universe storytelling. They didn't gloss over
Yeah.
into
think they
things
had-
that were insignificant.
They had to.
I think they had
Yeah.
to because they're right now they're focusing on the multiverse and they're like, hey, this is the core timeline. So everything in a what if show would in theory be deviations of that core timeline, and it would be confusing, so like you have to have fun with alterations to what you have already done, which is fun.
Also, just as a side note, the What If series is an interesting one to study because the episode where T'Challa plays Star-Lord has 4 times as amount of views as any other episodes combined. So people clearly just rush to go see Chadwick Boseman's last performance.
Yeah,
which
that's what I was gonna say. It's totally Chadwick Boseman's last performance. I would say.
Yeah. Well,
it's just interesting that you could take the entire series and quadruple it, and that many people just watched that one episode. Wow. It just shows his impact on the world and how interesting that was. Who knows what will happen next? But I know that they're getting a season 2. They just announced it last week.
Yeah, well, we will see what happens. I think that's about all the time we have for this. If you like the episode, you agree with our theories on VODs and the future of movie making, let us know. We're Nightcap Chat, all one word on Facebook, and Nightcap_chat on Instagram. Ken.
Thanks, you guys, once again for taking the time out of your night to listen. This is Ken, Drawn to Comics. You can find us in downtown Glendale at 5801 West Glendale Avenue. Drawn to Comics Instagram, Drawn to Comics Facebook, Drawn to Comics Twitter, and our holiday deals will be coming again this December. So keep a lookout on those platforms to see what different fun stuff we'll be doing during the month.
Is anyone else kind of let down that we couldn't crowbar in the address of Drawn to Comics this episode because we were so shot out of a cannon about every topic?
Yeah.
There was not one opportunity to do it.
We didn't do it. Yeah.
It's gross. I'm upset with myself.
Are you referring to Drawn to Comics at 5801 West Glendale Avenue in the corner of 58th Avenue? And I'm trying.
Okay, so just so we're clear, you have that down so good, Blade, that you just say it like your name. Like, it's so just like how you say it. I love how you do it.
Well, Ken, if it makes you feel better, me and Blade were going Christmas shopping earlier today, and Blade got off with the wrong exit, and he was like, I was on autopilot going to Drawn to Comics. I was like, Drawn to Comics downtown Glendale. It was just just so you know, we do that like just randomly. So
I recently did a post on my personal or on my public Instagram page, Blade O'Neill, all one word on Instagram, Blade O'Neill VO on Facebook, and I'm working on a documentary, and I was looking for veterans, and one of our listeners who follows me on my Instagram. He's a listener of Nightcap Chat. His name is
Yakiwe Appraisals.
No,
because that guy's a veteran. He's
Justin,
badass, and he's handsome.
Justin,
are you a veteran too, Steve?
Did you just ask if I was a veteran?
Yes. I didn't know that.
Yes, I am.
Thank you for your service, dude. I never had every veteran I meet, I thank for their service, because without great soldiers like yourself, there would be no Drawn to Comics.
That's right.
And
sorry, thank you. I'm sorry. I thought you were joking. I didn't take it seriously
serious,
for the first 20 seconds. I apologize.
Military soldiers, dude, and like that,
Thanks.
Everything that you guys do, you do all the sacrifices of things so we can have a free country. I don't care about any political viewpoint. Soldiers, you guys are the best when it comes to keeping this country free for what we are.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
But Justin reached out because he was a vet. And thank you for your service. Okay. And as we were saying our goodbyes, like, I'll have him reach out. And he said, see you at Drawn to Comics, located at the southwest corner of 5801 West Glendale Avenue sometime. Sorry, I had to. So, I mean, it's people know the joke.
That man is another amazing person, dude. Justin comes in and has some of the best conversations with me every time that he comes in the shop. And he is such a huge fan of the show. He's kind of like, dude, you guys haven't been on the past few weeks. Like, yeah, I've been a little bit of a dark place lately, and I don't like being on when I'm dealing with certain things going on in my life that I feel will bring down the feel of the show. I want to do a plug that I have not had a chance to
yes, please.
do yet. And I said to Yakiwe Appraisals did one of the most amazing events for a community that I've ever seen without really even knowing that community and offering to do what he did. I mean, he reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to get your crew and people that, might be interested in coming to see Ghostbusters? I love Ghostbusters that much. I want people to be there with me while I watch the film. And we did a little shout out, and this was more Yakiway appraisals more than it ever was anything drawn to comics. And that whole time, I was like not wanting to steal any steam away from what Yakiway appraisals did during that. And I was like proud to promote Yakiway appraisals. I was funny too because Steve is so humble. He was like saying, "Ken, no, don't stop. You don't need to say all that cool stuff about me." But it's from the heart. When I see people that really do give back to the community, I try to put that on cloud 10. And that to me is like a really, really special thing. I mean, I did not expect to see the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. You know, the things, every single one of the people that went said, "Oh my gosh, that was so much more fun than I expected it to be." And
For
it
real?
was all coming from your heart too, which I thought was really awesome. I know you're kind of wanting me to also like that, be part of like what was going on. And I'm going like, I don't want to take anything away from what you're doing here, because this is what you put together. And I was just trying to be there to help in any way possible. But that was by far one of the coolest things that a business that has no investment in another business could show love for into the community, which I thought was really awesome, Steve.
Thanks, dude. It was a hell of a lot of fun. And I mean, you saw the group was 90% your people, which made me happy because the real estate people that that did show up, they didn't really know what was going on or care. It was, I wanted nerds like your fans and friends to come over like me. And it was awesome. It was a really good time. I was super bummed out that Lance was stuck and couldn't come because it was a riot. We had
Dude, Lance was there in spirit, man. I was like going like, yeah, it's like that. Oh man, dude, I said too, it was like that. I was imagining Lance was sitting there with us. That's all I can say, dude. It was a good time. Like
thanks for the kind words, man. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to put together, and it was good to have you out there. It was a blast. It was a blast. Whatever it was a lot of fun.
It was a basting blast.
Shut up. See, now I feel like an idiot. Yeah, it was a blast.
Oh, well, I guess you can get me on Twitch and Instagram at Tales of Lance. Yeah? Okay. I guess this is the end of the episode.
Steve, do you need me to tell you? Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Just follow Ken's page.
Okay. Well, you heard it here. You heard it here first. We appreciate you all taking the time to listen. We love you. Be safe, and we'll catch you all next week.
Thank you for listening.
Have a good week.
Be popping.